All right, we are live. Hey, you guys. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? This is a Monday show, so I'm streaming right now, and I have a special guest with me, you guys. I want to introduce you to her. Well, I guess I should introduce my show, right? This is Hey DFW with Erin J, and we're streaming tonight on StreamYard. So, you guys, please let me know if you can hear me. I have let me turn up the chat and see if you the comments. So if we're good, you guys, let me know. Let me know sound and everything is okay. All right, so let me introduce my guest to you. Her name is Aisha Adams, and Adams is the founder and CEO of Aisha Adams Media Group, which specializes in helping small businesses and nonprofits present profitable yet conscious content, challenging cultural bias, evaluating diversity, and inspiring social change. She also has a partner organization, Equity Over Everything, which advances equity by closing gaps in entrepreneurship and home ownership in low resource communities. And she's also the program developer for Lenoir-Rhyne University for the Diversity and Equity Institute. She has been featured on several media outlets, including but not limited to Forbes, Rolling Out, Urban News, Asheville Citizen Times, which is also a part of the USA Today network. And y'all, she also went to UAB, so shouts out to the UAB Blazers. Woo-hoo. all right. I was so excited when I saw that. I was like, okay, I know she went to UAB. So welcome, Aisha. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. So how is everything there? You guys masking up, staying safe?
Yeah, we are working from home as much as possible. And our agency does a lot of client work. So we've implemented some social distancing rules for our video production and for the talk show. And we're just pushing forward.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Okay. I saw some people. Ah, there you joined. I'm gonna look on Facebook real quick, Aisha, and make sure we are good to go and that we're on the live.
Yeah, I was actually at this time sharing it with my followers on my personal blog.
Okay. Okay. And I'll share it on my page. All right. I see us right here. Okay. Okay. And here's share. Then you join. I'm gonna look on. Okay. Okay. And I'll just share it to my personal page if I can. Okay. Well, you guys hear us okay? Let me know if you guys hear us okay as well. Please let me know if you guys hear anything. All right. Ready to go. All right. So I used to have a few questions here for you about your business, and we just want to learn more about your business and what you're offering. So one thing I do before I go into the show, I want to learn about my guest a little bit more. So what made you decide to launch your own media company?
I don't necessarily think that I decided what I would do. I actually was a school teacher and I was recruited to this area by the city school system as a part of their diversity, equity, and inclusivity initiative. And so I kind of started my career off as a teacher. And
Okay.
I had a horrible accident. I broke my neck, my wrist, my leg. Best day of my life.
Wow.
The man that I was living with is now my husband. He was like, okay, we're definitely getting married. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't really fulfilling my purpose, and I needed to really double down on the things that were important to me. As a student at UAB, I was an English major with a concentration in creative writing. And I have a master's in post-secondary and adult education. And I have a passion for writing programs. And I was just kind of stuck in a system delivering content and curriculum that I wasn't passionate about. And it wasn't really moving my students in the way that I wanted to. So for me, it was just a wake-up call to really start living in my passion and really start to look at, who I was going to be.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Sometimes, like when things like tragic things happen in your life, you do have like these self-reflection moments, and it brings things together and just align things for you. So sorry about your accident, but
I was
glad that you came out.
It was the best day of my life. Like my mom was like, I'm coming to spend 6 weeks with you. I started to homeschool my son. I got very confident in my purpose. It was really the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Oh wow. Okay, you guys, I hope y'all listening to that. Everybody that's going through something, sometimes things happen and it brings it full circle, y'all. Okay. So usually corporations incorporate diversity in some sort of fashion. Your business focuses on small businesses and nonprofits. Why is it so important for small businesses and nonprofits to invest in solutions for diversity and inclusion?
Yeah. So we are a corporate training program, and we also focus on corporations as well. So the Lenoir-Rhyne Diversity Institute, I wrote it as a Black woman who was frustrated after attending several trainings throughout my career, that we go to these trainings and then we get back and it's like nothing, right? You're like, why did we even go to this training? Like, what you gonna do? So for me, it was an opportunity to take what we say in our kind of backroom conversation and bring it to the forefront in a professional way and monetize it. So what I was able to do was actually write out this 13 course institute that provides equity advocates an opportunity to go deep into their equity study and to really come out with a certificate from a major university that says that they're an equity advocate. And the strategy behind the courses is that it's not about changing the conversation. It's about changing how you work. And so our courses are specifically designed to shift workplace culture. So a great example of that is, say you are a small business and you are trying to figure out your target market women, and you're trying to figure out, like, how do I get more women to my website and to convert over? How do I get more African American women? How do I get more differently abled women? What do I need to do to reach my target market in these diverse fields? You can come to our course and really start to look at strategies for diverse marketing.
Oh, okay, okay. And that was actually my next question about how does that work, and what is, you could just give me one example of like diverse marketing, or something you've seen or something you guys do.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I speak to a lot of women who own brands who want to reach women. And so you ask them, you say, well, what's my target market? And they say, well, my target market is women ages 25 to 34, which is a great target market. But then when they begin to market, they typically market, especially in small businesses, they tend to market to people that they're used to marketing to. So if it's a Black woman, she's typically marketing to other Black women who are 25 to 34. How do you then, access, let's just say, LGBTQ women, identifying women? How do you market to them? What are the tactics for that? So one strategy is actually adding that into the visual piece of your marketing. When you market and you are actually marketing a program, do you have one flyer or do you have four? Do you have one that speaks to Black women? Do you have one that speaks to women who are stay-at-home moms? Do you have one that speaks to, again, trans women? So it's just really about segmenting that market out and using language and content that appeals to them. And as an equity advocate, being mindful that you have a diverse target market. So the places that you choose to market also will have a lot to do with who you bring in.
Okay. I do have a caveat to that. So, right now we're all, buying, investing in Black businesses and investing in the community is really good because, so much is going on. And, for a while, Black businesses had this stigma of like, girl, you know, and of course things, are changing. More people invest in Black businesses. I try to invest in as many Black businesses as I can. How, what advice would you give an African American business to uh, diversify their audience? Because a lot of the times we, like you said, we market to ourselves, we buy from ourselves, but at the same time, yes, it's a Black owned business, but I would also like to be, I am a Black owned business that services everybody.
Right. I think the first thing is opening up that business owner's mind. So I think I work with a lot of business owners. I actually put on an event called the Entrepreneur Accelerator, where we actually bring business owners in for a 3-day weekend. And we strategize with them. We help them accelerate, increase their visibility, increase their bottom line, and increase their resources and connections. So we do this a few times a year, and it never fails when I'm consulting with a business owner, especially a Black business owner. We want to solve our own problems, right? So when we're thinking about what are we going to do with our work, what we're going to do with our passion, we are trying to solve our own problems. And so a lot of times we create products that are just for us. That's why I think this institute is so important, especially for Black owned businesses, to really look at how do we diversify what we're doing. A lot of us have a lot of personal practices that stop us from diversifying. So let me tell you what I mean by that. If you are a Black person and you go to networking events, but you only go to Black networking events, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you have an internal practice that you haven't even identified, is that I go to Black networking events. So how in the world is a white business supposed to find you and to do business with you? Or how is a Muslim business, supposed to find you and do business with you? So a big part of this is really talking to business owners and saying, hey, you need to be an equity advocate. You need to be looking at the diversity markers and creating diversity. So we talk a lot about diversity, but we don't talk about actually creating diversity and managing diversity. So as a business owner, your personal practices will be how you manage that diversity. When you say, you know what, I'm going to go to the other this at least once a month and do one networking session, you'll see that your network will start to open up and that you will, right? So that's one way. Is that helpful?
It is. So a little bit, a couple times when you spoke, Aisha, it kind of went out. So I'm not sure what happened, but I'll stop it. Lesson. But that helps a lot because we don't see that. And I am guilty, y'all. I don't think I've gone to I think I've gone to one mixed networking event since I've been in Dallas. And also, one thing you guys, of course, the businesses that I interview are either in the DFW area or they can offer services to the DFW area. Aisha, can you tell people how they could get your services that are currently in the DFW area?
Definitely. So our next Entrepreneur Accelerator, which is a free event, is October 3rd. I created that because I leveled up in my business and I was like, I need to give back. And so I created that event. I partnered with my mentors to come in. And so they actually teach. So it's a 3-part series where you come in on Fridays or networking. So you meet all the other business owners. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we do a deep dive. And I think we're doing classes from 9 to 1 every hour in 2 separate classrooms. So there's lots of content there and you get to meet people who are investors. This time we're really focusing on bringing in money. So we're focusing on the pitch. So we have a pitch expert coming in to teach a free pitch class. And this is the type of pitch that you would take out to secure investors. We have a doctor in business accounting, who's there, who's going to teach skills, but then is there for a study hall. We have a PhD in entrepreneurship who has definitely helped me level up my business, and I owe all of my success to him. He'll be there. We have a mindset coach who is an amazing talent and super supportive advocate. So he'll be there, and we have a networking specialist that'll be there. So we have these people that are going to be there training, and it's absolutely free and it's virtual, and you guys are all invited.
You guys hear that? Tell us, let me type this in. Let me see.
So you just go to Aisha Adams Media.com, and you'll find all the different things that we're talking about today. So the next piece of what we do, which is back to this Lenoir-Rhyne Equity and Diversity Institute. And y'all, I'm so excited about this because it's the opportunity to step out of just our Afrocentricity, but to really impact what diversity is like. And so I'm super excited about our ability to get into that market. So what we're doing with that is that we're offering corporate training. This corporate training actually lends itself to a certificate from Lenoir-Rhyne University. So you can take 7 classes. They're 4 hours apiece. And you can get a certificate in equitable leadership with a focus either in education, technology, or business. The reason these courses are important are twofold. The first fold is, we know that there's companies all over that are looking for diversity, equity, and inclusivity specialists. And there are very few programs in the country that offer that kind of speciality. So that's one of the things that certificate is definitely a bolster to your professional resume. Other piece of this is within our specialty classes, you leave those classes with an artifact ready to take back into your company. So for example, you said, hey, you know what? I'm guilty. I don't market diversely. You could come in to that course and leave that course with a diverse marketing plan ready to implement for your brand. Hey, DFW, that day. So now you know I want to reach this market. I want to reach this market. Here's a strategy. Here's a strategy. And you can start testing that strategy as an advocate right away and then working from there. And so that's what we're super excited about, is turning out equity advocates across the nation. So we have businesses from Virginia to North Carolina to Alabama signed up already, and we haven't launched the institute yet. So we're excited. We have a long way to go in our country, but it's exciting that we get a voice.
Yes, it is. It is. It is about time, and I'm super happy. And I was so excited to interview when I saw, that we were part of the same networking group. All right, she went to your B, then you doing all these great things. That is awesome. Is that also on Aisha Adams Media as well?
Yep. So I partner with the university. So I don't work for the university. A lot of people think I work for the university, but I don't. I work with the university. And so Aisha Adams Media, my entity, is under contract with them. And they have been wonderful social justice advocates to wrap their arms around the program and add the supportive services that I need in order to launch the program. I'm so grateful for their partnership and their leadership, because it gave instant credibility to our programming. And definitely that's new for us, right? In our community. We I was laughing to reading about the rappers doing deals with the university. And so it was just like really thing for the academic side, because we're normally seeing that, rappers are doing music departments for different universities, but it's good to have, a corporate training program that is housed within university that speaks to not only the issues of anti-racism, but issues of ageism and sexual orientation and identification and gender, and like just really opening it up to create an equitable space for everybody.
Yeah. Can you define what cultural biases is, like a cultural bias? Because I want to say, I know we have racism, we have prejudice, we have discrimination, but where does cultural bias fall into that? Hey, Alicia, we got some comments here.
What's the comment?
Alicia Hurst says, hey there. Hey,
Hey.
Lucy Martinez says, great topic, ladies. I'm preparing to build an online course in the industry I have worked in. All right, Lucy. Hey, she got Aisha Adams Media can set you up. Check her out.
So bias is basically like, when you saw I was from UAB, you were like, you put a little weight on that. You was like, she from UAB, right? That's bias, right? It's a way in favor or against an idea or thing, in a way that's kind of closed-minded, because it's like, that's our Blazer network.
Yeah.
We're a little funny about that, right?
Yeah.
So imagine how that shows up for people who may be against different things. And I'll tell you how it comes into play in like a work environment. So last week I was sitting on a committee, at which I sit on so many committees, it ain't even funny, but I was sitting on this one committee, and this is a group where what we do is we actually take entrepreneurs, they pitch their idea, and then we have about 8 coaches that then, after they pitch their idea, start throwing ideas at them. So it's like a fast round of Shark Tank, but it's like no investment, but we're giving them the resources and things that they need that are in the local community and connecting them to resources. And so we were talking about the process in which how things go. And so I said, well, we need to have an invitation to connect. And so one of the leaders said, we don't need an invitation to connect. If you're an entrepreneur, you're supposed to just know, get out here and get it. You're supposed to just be out here. And I was like, as a Black woman, I need an invitation to connect to some people. I was like, Muslim woman, I'm definitely going to need, to know it's okay to call this man and it's okay. And so we don't think about how cultures are different and how we respond to those cultures can be abrasive or biased, right? So if you see a woman who may be a little bit hesitant to reach out to a man without having an invitation to connect, you may think she's not hungry for her work, when actually she's respecting her culture. So I think it's like, those are the kind of ways that we pop up all the time. And so people are often disregarded or not seen as passionate because of this bias, right? That is based on cultural differences.
That, you know what, and I've never even looked at it like that. So that is, even though I've heard of those things and you're familiar, but when you go in, you don't even think about it. You don't. So that's really important. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good service, and you broke. I liked how you broke it down for me as far as like even thinking beyond of why some things may or may not take place or why something is actually happening versus like your internal, like your cultural biases about it. So that's pretty interesting. So what is one of the biggest challenges that you see facing businesses as of today as far as diversity and inclusion? I mean, I see people are trying, but
Yeah, I think we have a lot of different things. The first thing is that even though we've been dealing with this problem for hundreds of years, as I said earlier, a lot of our courses that we attend, a lot of things that we, get involved in, it's like a historical survey of what happened to us, or it's about your feelings, or it's about talking, and we haven't had much systematic change. So when we start talking about being an anti-racist or being an LGBTQ ally, it's good to have conversation, but at the end of the day, like, people's lives are on the line. And so we definitely have to have some action. And I think that is the piece that we're missing in a lot of these things that are happening. And so in my mind, when people are coming in and they're actually learning how to change their behavior, and that they're actually understanding racism and what it means. So racism, when we say something is racist, we're not asking you to like us. We're not asking you to love us. We're only asking you not to oppress us. So when we say we want you to be anti-racist, we want policy changes and practice changes. We're not necessarily looking to play favorites. And so let me give you an example of a policy that you may have seen this week that was a racist policy, even though when it was written, it didn't say this is a racist policy. But did you see that article this week? It was a Black woman and a white man. They were married, and they tried to sell their house. I believe it was in Florida, and they put their house on the market, and they got it, appraised, and it was worth one thing. When they took the pictures of the Black people off the walls, and they changed all of the different pictures and called in an appraiser, there was a 40% difference in the cost of the value of the house. So what that tells us is that there's a policy or a practice in place that says that if you're Black, your American dollar is not worth the same as another person's race and their American dollar. That's racism, right? Not liking me is not racism. Calling me ugly, not racism. My dollar worth less because it's in my hand, totally racism.
Yeah, I've heard of that before, but I didn't read that particular article, but it's not surprising at all. And how now with something like that, it's not, I guess, it's not a small business, because I guess a realtor can have their own business unless they work under someone. How would you infiltrate that or approach that? Do they have to come to you, or is it something, because that is a problem?
It's definitely a problem, but this is a product. So in America, you have to sign up. They say the first step to solving your problems is admitting you have a problem. So I think like with this paper going nationwide, from a marketing standpoint, it was up to me to reach out to different real estate associations around Florida saying, hey, if you want to really start to deal with this issue, reach out. And we have these courses available for you.
Okay. I have something else to add. So, as a natural lady myself, my hair's straight now, y'all. You have straight hair, and it's I know they had the bill about the natural hair discrimination. It is in California. However, we've seen so many other stories about someone needing to cut their dreads, or even that little boy that was on the wrestling team had to cut his hair. And the thing is, I shouldn't have to change my hair just to perform my job, and for me, if I do, and this is a requirement, I feel like I should get a stipend for it or something to maintain this look. If that's the case, even though that's still unfair, but right, pay for it though. But what are your thoughts on that?
Like my thoughts are like, let's be real. Like it's crazy that our hair is illegal. Like let's let that soak in for a minute, because I think a lot of times when different marginalized voices are complaining, we don't necessarily get it. But literally the hair that we were born with, that came out of our hair, God created with no additional things, is seen as illegal. So we need to really put that in perspective as we think about where we are in the country. Yeah. And one of the things that I do, and it makes people angry. I'm going to do it here. Try something new here. But I always tell people, like, stop calling me African American. Call me Black American. And the reason for that is because I'm an American. And as an American, I have certain unalienable rights. And what happens is, because how language plays a role, if you look at how Africa is portrayed on TV, your hair is like, the safari. I've never, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm, like every time we see Africa, we see it portrayed in a certain way. Just like every time we see Mexico, have you noticed every time you see Mexico on TV, it's Mexico because it's like got this orangish, yellowish film across it?
Yes, and other things.
Yeah, Mexico don't look like that. So like it's those things. And so when we use certain words like African American, it makes like our political leaders put on, Ghanaian fabric and kneel to us, but we're Americans and we would have much rather wanted some reparations or a check because we live in a capitalistic society. So it's like when we say that we're African American, what I think it does is because there are so many blocks in people's minds, once you say African, they're all on a tangent. They're seeing lions and zebras and bears, and they're saying you're not like me. I'm an American. My mother was born here. Her mother was born here. And her mother was born here. And this country was built off the back of my ancestors. So, and I've never been to Africa. In fact, I've never been able to afford to go to Africa. So how then, every time you address me with that piece. Now, are my roots in Africa? Definitely. I do not pronounce Africa. I believe in an Afrocentric lifestyle. But when I'm talking business, you need to address me as a Black American.
Right.
Because I want access to the funding. I want access to the policies. I want access to the procedures. And as an American, I am supposed to have those things. So then when you start looking at like equal protection under the law, well, if I'm an immigrant, this is not my constitution. We have to start reframing that conversation for the people in the back who don't get it. Because we all have African descent. Like Africa is the motherland and we are all connected to Africa. But because my skin is darker, you will say, well, she's more African and I have the ability to treat her differently.
That's a true story. Okay. All right. I like that. No
comments about it because we are proud of our African heritage and that's a part of who we are. But I think that is for us and not for them to hang on. So we need to reframe that conversation.
Okay. That makes sense though. I mean, your point makes sense. It's valid. It's valid points because a lot of us haven't been. I haven't traveled to there. I want to go, but I haven't. I mean, that part of my culture was lost,
Right. And when you get there, they're going to treat you like you
an American.
It's like, it's like stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And great to be, I think, Africa as a continent is a beautiful continent. It's a huge continent. And all the different countries and all the different flavors, the food, the culture is very, very beautiful. But Black American people set the tone and culture for the world. And we are a small, unique bunch of people. And that when we take away and when we clump ourselves in over there, then people don't understand that we create the language. We create words like swag. We create words like drip. We make the new dance craze. We say wet hair is hot, right? Because even though they say our hair is illegal, we still see them putting in fake dreads and dread in their hair, and right, because we set the tone for the culture. And so once we are in alignment with that as a people, and we start to claim our rights to the land and our rights to the Constitution and our rights to funding, and then that's where the shifts come in for me.
I think it's getting there. We're taking note. We're understanding it now more than ever. And coming in on that topic, why do you think Black Lives Matter is so political? Why is it a pressure point for some people? I mean, it's Black Lives Matter. Like, how is that a derogatory term or phrase?
I can say something about your last question. I want to let you know that I live in a city where we pass reparations for Black citizens, both in the county and on a city level. So that passed in they have committed to restorative justice in some form for the done, which is amazing because we've been hearing about reparations all our life. 40 acres and a mule, 40 acres and a mule. So
right.
Actually become real legislation is historic. And so shout out to all of the activists here that are doing that great work. So I want to say, yes, we are changing the tides, and we're changing it systematically, and we're changing it from a governmental standpoint, from a budgetary standpoint, from a power standpoint. Why do people think that why does Black Lives Matter get people in a tizzy? Okay. So let's first start with, I posted something today that is really important to me to say. Black Lives Matter is not a movement about the dead, right? Black Lives Matter is also about the living.
Mm.
And so for me, one of the things that I see is we haven't done a great job of making that be succinct. So every time we stand up and we say Black Lives Matter, it's usually around a death. And that death is usually, like, first of all, when death enters a situation, there's grief, there's pain, right? So it automatically becomes harder to talk about, harder to deal with, harder to press through. And usually when we're screaming Black Lives Matter, we are also like, there's a punishment that needs to be laid out. So let's put that into context of how, you know what I mean? Like when we
Mm-hmm.
say Black Lives Matter, and then we say Breonna Taylor, we say somebody needs to be locked up.
Right.
Okay, so now we got the death of Breonna Taylor, which is heavy, which is a lot of sorrow. Then we got, we want to lock these officers up, and we're saying like Black Lives Matter. So I think as we begin to unpack what Black Lives Matter means, so, I posted like, it's about the living, and I was like, you need to pay accordingly. Like, we haven't connected the Black Lives Matter movement to pay equity yet in real time. We haven't aligned the Black Lives Matter movement to educational equity. We haven't aligned it with entrepreneurial equity. And so a lot of times it gets the most attention around a very sad and emotional time.
Yeah.
So it has that context. I think that's why I think people get in a tizzy, because
Okay.
even if you're racist, let's say you are a racist, and I know a lot of racists, even if you're racist, typically you wouldn't be mad at somebody saying a slogan. It's just what that means is that you want to jail. Like the Black Lives Matter movement, we have offenders. It's a very intense space to be in. And it's a hard space to be in because I don't see any other nationalities having to prove their worth on that level.
Yeah, and that does bother me too. It's almost like you have to when you say it, or it's always a comment after that. It's always a follow up after that. So it is a bit disturbing, and sometimes I feel like it's simple. If you wouldn't want this happening to your daughter or your son, why should it happen to anyone else's? Why are you failing to put yourself in someone else's shoes? I can't, I don't even understand how these dots don't connect in, adults' minds.
Well, I mean, again, and we see people co-opting our movement, using it in the wrong way. So Black Lives Matter is some kind of way linked to like being a Democrat, which is like, why? I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but what I'm saying is Black Lives Matter is about being Black. And if you see what I see, then they the same.
Right.
Republicans
Right. Right.
you racist policies and you uphold racist policies. So how is that connected, right? And so
Right.
or we see businesses that are now saying, oh, Black Lives Matter, but you ask them to see their board and their pay structure and see if Black lives really matter then. And so I think as our movement matures, I love the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm super excited about the new energy that we have around it. And I think it's going to take influencers in our different sectors to uphold the work that has been already done by the fabulous activists who started this work. And we have to carry it on. We have to say, well, what does Black Lives Matter look like in higher education, where I'm kind of in that sphere? And what does Black Lives Matter look like in the classroom in K-12? And what does Black Lives Matter look like in a corporation or in a media company? And a lot of people, when they reach out to me, they say, well, we're having a diversity issue. We can't get any people of color to sign up for our program. And then I said, well, how many people of color do you have playing in the program? And it's like they weren't ready for that level of diversity. Like, cool to benefit, but it's not cool to be on our level, right?
Right.
And so we have a lot of work of unpacking and explaining and teaching. And I just hope that already is my portion of that, because this is a big movement and it's going to take all of us, from all different races to and all different genders and all different abilities, and just to be able to put our 2 cents in to create something beautiful so that there's enough space for everyone here to thrive.
Good point. So I'm pretty sure you saw or heard about it. NFL and NBA, sports, diversity and inclusion. Even though the majority looks like us, the ownership does not. What I know part of that is probably maybe, I don't know, maybe someone can't afford to buy a team. I don't know, but what can you explain to me? How can that stop, or how can we close the gap on that?
Yeah, I think like for me, what's interesting is, so when we look at the disparity, yes, the players, again, remember I told you, it's all good to be at that lower level and owners. So people are like, well, we don't have that many Black owners. Well, how many Black managers do we have? How many, like, you know what I'm saying? We start really breaking down the numbers. What we'll see is, yes, we'll let you play the game, but we will not let you have an equity stake in the process. So when we start talking about equity, which is, you know, my big thing, my t-shirt, equity over everything, I really believe in that, what we're looking at is like, how do we take ownership in the process? How do we share resources, money, and power? And so when I come to an organization, and if at the lowest level they have people of color or other marginalized communities or other non-majority communities, they're typically happy with that because they have no intention of truly diversifying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The NFL and the NBA, yeah, you know, you player, you make a lot of money, but be the manager, be the coach, be the owner, right? Who does the marketing? Who gets to do, like, right? When you start really looking at what does it take to put a football game together and what are all positions, then they become a very small number in the big.
Are you still there?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I thought it cut off. Yeah, you're right. Okay. And that's, and I pretty much but I do believe in the next few years we'll probably see our first Black owners. Well, I think some already on NBA teams, but maybe in the NFL.
And Jay-Z had a team at one time too. So I think we will see more owners. I think what we need to do though is not just look at the NFL for more owners. Because to be an owner means you have to have a certain amount of money and a certain amount of, you know, what we should be looking at the NFL for is like, let's do a deep dive in your whole organizational structure. How many Black referees are there? Like you know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like we don't want to infiltrate on this level and this level. We want to be throughout because that's where the cultural shift happens, right? So how many HR people are of color and can advocate for other people of color that are in that organization? So we really need to do a deep dive. So I really recommend when companies aren't really sure how they're doing with diversity, equity, and inclusivity, you know, reach out. Let's do an equity advocate, an equity audit, and let's see where your holes are and let's plug them.
Yeah, I heard that. That's what y'all need to do. Can you tell me this? How does incorporating diversity and inclusion benefit a company?
So let's just go back and look at diversity for a second. So diversity is, as Angela Davis put it, I stick to her definition because I really like it. I have a fish tank, and in my fish tank, I have goldfish. The water's good for them. The food I have is good for them. They like how I've laid out the rocks. They're chill. So they're all the same. Then I put in a Japanese fighting fish. So now that Japanese fighting fish is in this goldfish water, eating this goldfish food. The temperature is not good for him, but he has to swim anyway. That's diversity. I will allow you into my program if you can hack it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have inclusivity. Once I get there, will you begin to level out that water in that aquarium so that we're all comfortable? So let me tell you, I can tell you all Black people have experienced this. You work at a job and the music that comes on over the overhead and you like, can I get one Black song? Can I get one hip hop song? Can I get one R&B song? They ain't thought about the fact that you work there and you do an 8-hour shifts and you want to hear some music too. Have not even thought about you. So it's those gentle ways that drive us crazy in our workflow where we're not necessarily being included. So with inclusivity, you're thinking about, how do I make this person feel good about being here, feel valued, have a sense of belonging? And when they give feedback, they feel like I care. And they're, even if when we're brainstorming, their idea doesn't make it all the way to the top, they know the value of putting their idea in because they know they're being heard and valued and respected. And so that's that inclusivity. So if, when you have diversity without inclusivity, you get a high turnover. You may get, Black and brown people to apply. You may get LGBTQ people to apply, but then when they get there, you treat them like crap because you ain't thought on just the application process, right? So then that's inclusivity. So then when you look at equity, what you're looking at is, how do I now that I have all of these people at the table, how do I share power and resources with them? Right. And so we can always tell when a marketing company may be diverse but not inclusive. We get stupid ads that go viral, then we clown them. That's not, you can look at that and say, okay, if you have Black people on your team, I listen.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
So
it's like who okayed this?
Right.
Yeah.
Make it real world because, like I said, we go to a lot of these classes. We know what these words mean, but what does it look like in our day-to-day life? In our day-to-day life, it looks like a bad Dove commercial. In our day-to-day life, it looks like a bad H&M ad, right? So, that is what it looks like when you don't have a diverse and inclusive marketing team.
Okay. So, switching gears a little bit, you have well, we talked about the partner organization, equity over everything, but this is about, I read about that one is the closing the gaps with entrepreneurship and home ownership and low resource communities. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Right. So Aisha Adams Media is my company, and my team and I, like, we, I hit a hard place in my business. I had applied for this program. I didn't get in. And when I just knew I was going to get in, I was like, I'm in, it's great. And it was like a scaling program where you scale your business. And I didn't get in. So when I went to my mentor, he was like, oh, don't worry about them. We'll scale ourselves. And so over the last 2 years, we've really scaled the company. And so equity over everything is my give back. It is really about how my team shows up in community and says, thank you for being here. We love you. We see you. And that we want to help equal the playing field in our industry. So I'm a business owner. My contract with the university is an entrepreneurial endeavor where I have an equity stake in the funding that comes through that program. And so how do I teach other people how to level up? I'm doing very well for myself. I get to work from home. I get to be in all the fancy magazines and the newspapers, and I do all the talks. How can I help other people reach their greatness? What can I do? How do I serve? So equity over everything is our service led. It is how we serve our community. And thanks for being influencers. I think a lot of people want to be an influencer. I'm considered an influencer. And what I learned about influence is it's not really about what I ate today. It's not really about how cute my lashes are or how cute my hair is. It's really about how do I serve my community and how do I help other people move to where they're going. So it was just a natural thing for us to start equity over everything. And so what we do is that entrepreneur accelerator that I talked to you about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Also host the folding chair session for the Lenoir-Rhyne Equity and Diversity Institute, where I produce a talk show It's an LGBTQ and Black talk show. And so we actually interview community members and share community news. So we're just like, if you went to UAB, you might have heard like Good Morning Alabama. It's like our version of Good Morning Alabama, but it's LGBTQ and Black centered.
Okay.
Or as voice centered. So, we might have Puerto Rican people come in and talk about whatever they have going on in their community. And so it's a way to level the playing field in media and to show up.
Okay. And is a link to that is also, will that also be on your?
It's all on the Aisha Adams media.com page, but it's called the AVL View. Or the Asheville View. If you go to Facebook, it's there, or the website. And we're doing really cool stories. So I'll tell you about two real cool stories real quick. So the first one that I'm super proud of is that we had a young man who experienced police brutality. And so for 2 years, like I watched, they talked about him in the Washington Post. They talked about him in USA Today, because when the police brutality leaked, it was leaked through a secret source, and it went national. This, like, when everybody found out about the brutality. So this video went national, and people talked about it for 2 years. And when I started my talk show, I went and found him and I said, hey, I really need for the world to hear your side of the story. So we actually did a 3-part series on what happened to him. He got $650,000 from the city of Asheville for what happened to him. And so it's one of those police brutality stories that, it really hits home here, but I think it should be more prevalent in our community nationwide to see that we hear a lot about the people who die, but the Black, like, his life matters and he survived.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's some things that are there that we need to be unpacking. So that's a really great story. And then one of our hosts, Tina, who's an amazing woman, amazing trans woman, shared with us her story. This was before she became a host, of transitioning from Tom to Tina, and talked about what it was like going to work, talked about what it was like maintaining her marriage to a woman. So, and what it was like to have 5 kids to raise. So for me, we hear a lot of LGBTQ stories, and oftentimes we hear a lot of like struggle stories, sad stories.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful love story. And it's one that I think that inspires our LGBTQ community to know that there's true love out there, that there is family out there, that there is peace after transition and peace during transition. We haven't seen a lot of that, especially reflected in our own community. So for me, having Tina on the show has been a blessing in a lot of ways, but that's another one of my favorite shows where she definitely details out like what that process was like for her.
I want to go look at that show. And that sounds very interesting, because seems like it was so many different layers.
It was definitely, I was like, I definitely need a show. And I said, I will produce it by the end of the interview. And a few months later, she was on the Asheville View, and she's just a joy to have around, and just a real good resource, and just a good person to talk to, because she's so open about her journey and her process.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of police brutality, do you think training will change the mindset of some people?
So okay, as a Black woman, so this is like my non-professional off the record answer, but I know we're on the record answer. Like, you just never know, right? Like, I have my own of what I think happens behind the scenes. I have my own conspiracy theories, but the reality is police will change when policies change. When you kill somebody as a police officer, and you know that because you kill somebody, you're going on trial in front of a jury of Americans, not internal police department chooses, then I think you won't kill, because you might get killed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right now, the policies, and that's the racism, right? The policies uphold killing a Black person, because you can kill a Black person, get off scot-free, right?
Okay.
And they do. They kill a Black person. They get paid vacation. Like, it's like, oh, I needed a vacation anyway. So I think the policies have to change. I also think that, yes, police officers need more training, but I also think this idea of defunding the police is interesting. I don't like how we phrase it, because it's very misleading. But really looking at how do we support police officers differently, because right now police are a catch-all for everything. So, for example, if you have somebody with mental health issue outside screaming with no clothes on, what do? You don't call a mental health person to pick them up and take them to the hospital. You call the police. The police policy, they're going to take them to jail because that's what they do. So we have a lot of problems there. And the first problem is we need to change our policies to hold our police more accountable. Our second issue is that we need to not put everything on our police and look at our budget and look at, what our expectations are, and we need to frame them, right? So, I mean, that was a small indication, but what if you could have called a mental hospital and they could have picked that person up, did a psych evaluation, administered medicine, right? But no, we called the police.
And then, and they just go to jail, or if, God forbid, someone gets spooked, what could happen?
But Officer A, whoever he is not a mental health professional. He cannot diagnose. He cannot give medicine. All he can do is handcuff you and take you to jail.
Yeah.
You resist, that's a criminal act. So I think that we have to do both and with our police officers. We have to definitely hold them more accountable, but we also have to really look at how we overuse them. They are a catch-all for every single thing. So do I think more training will help? Yes. Because I think that if we looked at when 911 calls came in, if it was more than just our first responders and our police officers that could be tagged to do work in our communities, that might help. So I'm not really for defunding the police in the way that it may sound. I'm actually for supporting the police. And what I mean by that is definitely holding them accountable, arresting people who uphold racist policies and procedures and people who do bad things. But I'm also interested in seeing how our police departments can become, law enforcement and not law lockup. So that's really important to me. I really think we need to train them with other strategies, and we need to give them the power to do other things. And then we need to take some things off their plate.
Okay. So pretty much we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you for hanging out with me today. So one of the things what we do, I close out each show with the Hey DFW's top 5. And it's just like 20 questions, but it's 5 little light fun questions to just kind of learn about yourself, or something you can laugh at later. Are you ready? What's your favorite color?
Okay, let me ask you this. Are you from Birmingham?
I'm not. I'm from Mobile, Alabama.
Okay. Are you in Birmingham?
I'm in Arlington, Texas.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You're in Texas now. Well, I went to Parker High School, if you're familiar.
I know some people that went to Parker.
So, we bleed purple. We are serious purple lovers over here.
All right. Shouts out to Parker High School. Last book you read?
The last book I read will be My Undoing by Morgan Jerkins. I'm definitely into all of the Black feminist books and things that are coming out right now. I think we're defining Black feminism, and it's exciting. So I'm into like the Brittany Cooper book, Dr. Brittany Cooper's books. I'm into just all those books that are really defining what it means to be Black and woman and to hear us roar.
We have a question. What would be the alternative to defund the police? Because police reform has obviously not worked. Rebudget the police. The money, rebudget the police, question mark. The money goes where it's needed. Nobody has a good phrase. What do you suggest? Well, she pretty much already answered that, but when we do the live, there is a lag. So did you want to reiterate it a little bit?
I definitely will reiterate it. So
Thank you.
yeah. So here's the thing about movements and activists, right? They're cool. You look at the Fred Hamptons, you look at the, the cool activists. And so we use words, and the words that we use are powerful. So if you ask an activist, like, oh, what are you doing? I'm dismantling racism. That sounds so fly. But baby, let me tell you, dismantling racism means taking it apart piece by piece. And baby, that's a headache, right? So, same for defund the police. We use that sentence, defund the police, and I think what it does is it turns off a lot of people because we all know that all government agencies are usually really tight on their budgets, regardless. So, I don't think that we should necessarily defund the police. I think we should refund the police. And what I mean by that is number one, we need a refund on the times where they have been doing criminal things. Like they need to be held accountable. We need to get rid of this blue lives code or whatever that is, right? And remind them that they work for us and that they're here to serve us. So that's part one of that process of refunding the police. The second piece of that is that, like I said earlier, one of the issues that the police are feeling that we don't realize is that we put a lot on them, that our police officers are responsible for so much. So I use the example of a mentally ill person walking down the street with no clothes on and that are yelling at the top of their lungs because they're having some type of dissociative, issue.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is we call the police, and the police are not equipped to handle mental health issues. But our police also govern our schools, and our police also govern our concerts and our tourism spaces, and they also govern the day-to-day tasks. So they have so many things on them that we really need to look at what is the role of the police, and how can we engage other advocates like mental health professionals and have them on call. How can we engage emergency services that may close gaps and help people, as opposed to always locking them up. But when you call the police, that's what they're trying to do, is lock you up. That's what they're there for.
She have another comment. She said, I was just asking the catchphrase you answered with refund the police. I understand that defund police means what that means and the budget. Um, let's see.
But what I've learned about civic engagement is like you may understand what defund the police because you did the reading, but there's 80 other people that didn't. And it's true because you know how like you post something on Facebook and you're like, y'all didn't even read it. Y'all just read that one line on the outside and just kept scrolling. So when a lot of people see defund the police, they're not with it because they think you're saying take money completely out. And that's definitely not how I've seen it done.
I agree with you about that there is a lot on their plate, and the example about the mental health persons discussion makes a lot of sense because they do get a ton of calls about that. I mean, I know I've called before about things that are not a non-criminal activity, but just let me see. Let's see. Let me see. Did she answer your question? I'm gonna just make sure. Did you understand her remarks? I guess that's the way I would say it. Animal control, how they work with animal control is a really good example. You can call the police and they are about something, an animal or something, a loose animal, they'll call animal control. So I believe people are saying, let's outsource other resources, but the campaigning is a bit scary. And then because right now it's like people want a solution right now. So it's a bit scary and it's a bit uncertain. It hasn't been tried before. So it's a lot.
Check out. Do y'all remember the guy who was killed at the Wendy's?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine someone called the police. There's a guy sleeping in the parking lot. I think he's been drinking and driving. And instead of calling the police, they had called him a cab.
They could have called a cab.
Right.
That would have been easier.
Called him a cab and said, the cab says, look, I need to take you home or coming. He would have been like, phone. All right, where you going? right? It would have been so simple. But no, what did we do? We deployed 2 police officers. Now they got to give all these tests. Everybody knew that boy was drunk. They were doing the best that they could with that process in the beginning of it. And it
Yeah.
could have been avoided by calling an Uber. Like, just call an Uber.
Right. And I think he did the right thing by saying, you know what? Can't drive. Let me chill out right here until I get my life. So because you're told not to drink and drive. So that was responsible within itself. So I didn't understand that.
I just think, but you got to understand, they are trained that if you resist arrest, that's a criminal act. They are not trained on calling you an Uber.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that if they would have said either let us call you an Uber or we got to take you to jail, he would have been like, Uber me. And we would have saw that video. We would have
right.
Cops forever. It would have been like a whole YouTube sensation. Call me an Uber. Like, so simple.
Yeah. And that stuff, you guys, that when all this stuff happens, that also takes resources from the community with, civil suits and things of that sort. When that happens, right. With the internal investigations and things of that sort, it takes a lot.
And even if it takes a toll on everybody, right? It takes a toll on the police officers and their families and their children. It takes a toll on the Black families. It takes, when we lose somebody, it takes a toll on our whole community because we're so close. Yeah. So much like family. So imagine if the police officers their only recourse is let me follow this code and arrest you. That's what. Yeah. So when you say, do they need more training? Absolutely, because that was an Uber moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys, I hope I got your answers. We broke up Hey DFW for y'all. Top 5.
I need my next 3 questions really quick.
I know. Okay, what's your favorite food?
Right now, don't laugh, y'all, but it's salad because, a salad is so versatile. Like if I wanted to be like a steak salad or a shrimp salad or a salmon salad, which I'm having a salmon salad for dinner tonight, it can be versatile and I get to have, a lot of stuff in it. And I love dressing up a good salad. So I'm going to say a salad for today.
I think you're going to be the first person I interview in history that said salad.
Well, I'm a recovering vegan, so I don't really. I don't get my greens.
Yeah. Okay. And if your company could work for any organization or be contracted by any organization that would need your services, what company would it be?
Well, I think for me right now, because I'm in my dream partnership, so I partner with this 125-year-old institution, Lenoir-Rhyne, and they are located in Asheville. They have a graduate school. They have a full campus in Lenoir, in North Carolina, and then they also have a Columbia campus. So I'm very honored to be in partnership with them. And just the businesses that come through and the people that come through. I'm more of a people person than this person. And I am in love with training people to do good work and disrupt systems. So any company that wants to disrupt those systems.
Okay. And, you're actually going to be my last interview for my summer series. I'm not doing any interviews in September, any new ones. I'll just be doing clips from my old interviews to reset my life. So this summer series is a Level Up 2.0. And you talked earlier about leveling up your business, but how would you give advice to anyone, business owner, individual, to just level up? How does Aisha Adams level up?
For me, my level up was investing in myself, not just money, but I did invest money, which was a great return. And I suggest that as well. But I started to invest more time into myself and more faith into my own projects. So I think that's where the level up comes. It's a mindset, and that it's about, again, this is my morning affirmation, which is like, Aisha, take up more space, twerk it, and charge more.
Okay.
Like, you know, so for me, I think when it comes to being a solopreneur or a business owner or a corporation owner, take up more space. We have a thing of saying like, I'm holding space for this person, or I'm not gonna, but space is in abundance. So take up more of it. And when I say twerk on it, make it your own. I think that's really, you know, key. Be unique. And then when I say charge them more, like there's a debt to be paid and we need to charge it. We need to collect our pennies. We collect our coins. So I really am passionate about that being like the 3-step guide to a super amazing day for myself, and maybe it can help somebody else.
All right, you guys, you heard it here. Thank you, Aisha, for hanging out with me tonight.
My
So,
laser.
yay! Okay, you guys, y'all make sure y'all check her out. Aisha, you can tell them where I have. Let me put the banner back up. But remind everybody about your accelerator program real quick while I put this up.
Yeah, come hang out. If you're a small business owner, a solopreneur, and you're looking to accelerate your business, come hang out with us October 3rd through the 5th. We'd love to have you. The wait list is on the website. You can see our social impact reports from the previous ones. But we would love to have you. We're going to be focusing on pitching our businesses. There's going to be an LLC expert, like I said, a PhD in accounting, PhD in entrepreneurship, and it's a free event. So we'd love to have you, and it's virtual.
All right, y'all. Y'all attended. Invest in yourselves. Then this part is investing time, and then you can hire her company. Invest some money, you guys. Put it back in rotation. Thank you guys for tuning in on a Monday night with me. And thank you, Aisha, for being my last video of my summer series, Hey DFW 2.0, the Level Up Summer Series. So thank you guys. Bye.